Welcome back to CT 21. For the first time in our state's history, we now have an Inspector General. Attorney Robert Devlin will be responsible for conducting investigations of police officers. He's here to tell us more about this new role. Thank you for being with us.
Sure, my pleasure.
Tell me about this, because this is a big change, and it was all part of that police accountability bill. I want to talk a little bit more about you doing the job in a minute, but just generally tell people, what is this new role?
So the General Assembly made a decision to create this Office of Inspector General, which is given the authority and responsibility to look at police use of force incidents. It's a separate, it's affiliated with the Division of Criminal Justice, but it's separate. Whole idea is it's supposed to make an independent and objective assessment of these cases. We're going to have a staff of investigators and an attorney to sort of look at these things completely.
We've seen in the past, I know from anchoring the news, there would be a police shooting, say, in Hartford, and we would say that the state's attorney from New London was coming up to investigate. Right. That was the old system. They would send it to a different district, and a state's attorney would investigate. The idea here was that they wanted someone who was independent, who wasn't beholden to that whole criminal justice system to do those investigations. Is that an important distinction in how you'll be looking at the job?
Well, it's an important distinction in the sense that it's a completely independent approach. It's not the Division of Criminal Justice or state's attorneys that are doing these investigations. It's the Inspector General. The actual people that are making the statements and examining the evidence are inspectors in the IG's office. So it's a different approach, an independent approach, and I think that's what was intended by the legislature.
You said something interesting in your questioning about this role from the Criminal Justice Commission, and that's, you said there are some people who believe the police can do no right, and there's some people who believe the police can do no wrong, and somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? So is that the balancing act that you have to handle? It
is. I mean, because whatever decision the office makes is going to be met with criticism probably by one side or the other. I actually hope that our decisions are persuasive and well-reasoned enough that we can work through that. But I'm not naive about this. And you said it, Eric, it's the truth. I mean, you pursue the truth, follow the evidence, and wherever it leads, that's where you go. It's as simple and difficult as that, actually.
I want to talk a little bit about your background. Former judge, prosecutor, public defender. You've had a career in the criminal justice system from pretty much all angles of it.
I have.
At this point, you could move to Florida and collect a nice pension and not have people being angry about the decisions you're writing.
Right.
Why now? Why this for Robert Devlin?
I've had a lot of people sort of scratch their heads about my pursuit of this job, and I tell all of them the same thing. Look, I wouldn't have to do it. I've had a wonderful career as a judge. I've really enjoyed it. I've worked with wonderful people throughout my career. But this is really a difficult but very worthwhile job. I mean, it really is. I think this is an opportunity to stand up this office as a fresh, new approach to these cases, and hopefully, you know, through incrementally, case after case after case, you know, build some public trust into the decisions that come out of the office. That's the objective.
And where are you with actually getting this up and running? Do you have your staff picked out? Are you good to go? What's the time frame on making this happen?
Well, they've advertised for the people that work in the office. I think those advertisements have people until sometime for the later part of October to submit applications, and then we'll start the process of interviewing people and making decisions about who's going to be in the staff, and getting a physical location for the office. All that's going to happen over the next couple of months.
Now, you and I have known each other for a long time as a judge and a lawyer, not really in this setting. We could get into the weeds on this, but I think people can follow that subpoena power is a big deal in this job. Everybody who's watched Law & Order knows that a subpoena can bring a witness in and force them to testify. Connecticut has long had a different system.
Right.
Can you, in a way that people might be able to appreciate the change, you'll have subpoena power, which hasn't happened. Can you explain why that's a big deal?
Because you can get people to come into an office setting under oath and ask them questions. And they can bring documents or photographs or records with them, which might not be really attainable under other circumstances. And so you have the power of the court, the power of subpoena, to compel people to come into someone's office and make a statement, produce records. That's a huge advantage that the Inspector General will have. And I think it's something that should be used judiciously, but appropriately.
In the past 20 years, I saw a statistic, there have been 76 use of force investigations with police and 1 police officer charged. Does that have any bearing on your work going forward? Do you look back at what happened in the past and say, well, most of the time the police were cleared in the past? Do you think things change under this new position?
Only in the sense that each case is unique. You look at each case, and with no preconceived ideas, no thumb on the scale one way or the other, you look at each case and you investigate it really robustly, and then you come to whatever conclusion is appropriate. I mean, I think these cases can be difficult because there can be, it's not only a straight line. There are differences of recollection. You can have cameras that have, line of sight problems and things like that. You have to really work through the evidence. But ultimately, it's about determining what happened and seeing if it's reasonable or not.
Will you actually should there be charges from these cases, will you prosecute them?
I will. Absolutely. If I sign that, if I sign an information, I'm going to take it to court. I'll have help, but I'm going to take it to court.
And once a call comes in that would implicate this new job, will you be talking to the victims and the police officers and everybody? You're going to be the person there that they're going to be talking to?
For the most part. I mean, I have a staff. I hope to use the staff to some extent. But yes, for the most part, yes, I plan on filling that role.
All right. Robert Devlin, the first Inspector General for the state of Connecticut, just getting ready to take on that job. Something tells me your name will be in the news as we do these investigations. We appreciate you coming on here in
Sure.
CT21.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Coming up, positioning police and those on the autism spectrum to have positive encounters. We're learning about unique training taking place at one local university. That's our Sunday Spotlight. It's coming up next.